The advice and opinions expressed by Dr. Grant-Piche and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice.
Dr. Doreen Grant-Piche is Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism. Doreen Grant-Piche.
Dr. Grant-Piche.
Dr. Doreen Grant-Piche.
Dr. Doreen Grant-Piche is a visionary in the field of autism. Now you can ask her questions on Ask Dr. Doreen.
How do I handle my 21-year-old autistic son's fecal smearing obsession compulsive behavior? We're sending you a hug, Barbara, and thanking you for writing in that question. Yeah,
that's a really, really tough one. And I'll be honest with you, the general consensus is that fecal smearing has to do with the child needing or wanting some sort of sensory input. Which they, so therefore, as a result of that, a replacement behavior for that. In other words, you try to block the fecal smearing and you replace it with things like finger painting or playing with, things like clay and so on. And there have been success stories. There have been cases published where if you were able to block the fecal smearing and instead allow the child plenty of time to do things like finger painting, which is kind of giving the child the same sensory input, but under acceptable conditions, that the child has gotten better. There are other kids where I think it's important to pay attention to that. It may not be sensory inputs for all kids. There are kids that do this type of thing just because they want control over something. There are kids who actually want the input from a smell perspective. There are other reasons. So I think if you have a child who engages in that, and you're talking about a 21-year-old, this is so difficult to deal with. And instead of giving you a bunch of like, oh, this is what you do to replace it, I could see this child in this situation being extremely difficult. And I think what I would suggest to you is wherever you are, let's build your village first. Let's try to get you some help. Other people who can help you with this before you start an intervention. I would suggest you try to get at least 2 other people who can help, because I don't know, sometimes kids are doing this or adults are doing this when it's overnight. And it's very, very difficult for you to manage if something like this is happening when you're asleep. The other situation is, even this 21-year-old, it's very hard to prevent them from doing something like this. So you would need help before you start to do this. And I think the overall intervention or concept is, what can I replace this with that will be incompatible? So the child is not able to fecal smear while they're doing this other activity, but at the same time, the child is getting their sensory inputs that they desire from that other activity. And because of that, because it has to be something that's sort of replacing that activity, you have to block the fecal smearing, and you have to keep the child very, very busy, engaged, so they just break that habit. So it's very hard to do, and I really would start by trying to get a team of people together and maybe even get access to a behavioralist, the BCBA, who can guide you through this. Because as you can imagine, this is a difficult process.
Don't forget, you can watch Ask Dr. Doreen live every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. Pacific time. We hope to see you there.